Sports for Real with Coach Hall. Hope you all are having a happy new year so far. A lot of schools, they not kind of having a good year so far because they're losing some long-time coaches. First off on the list, it's all yesterday that Coach Nick Saban decided to hang it up. I thought it would come sooner, and I also wondered if he was going to try to coach forever. I mean, he's making enough money. How much is enough? I felt like he should have stepped aside a few years ago and let some of these younger coaches make some money. Be that as it is, he's finally stepped aside, and the big question is, who wants to follow this legend in Alabama? There's been some names tossed around, and kind of strangely, one of the ones I heard was Jim Harbaugh. Now, why would Jim Harbaugh leave his alma mater, who he's now recently turned around and won a championship with, to go down to Alabama to face that pressure? Soon as things start to go off the hinge in Alabama, they're going to start blaming him, and then they're going to remember, well, hell, he just beat us, and we could have probably won the championship this year. So they're going to hold that against him. So it doesn't make any kind of sense at all for Jim Harbaugh, to me, to go to Alabama. But what does make sense? Kirby Smart over at Georgia. He spent a few years on Saban's staff at Alabama. The people know him, and he's got the reputation in the SEC, which is all that matters to those folks down there. He's got the reputation as being able to win. And I think his string at Georgia, as far as being a championship level, is going to start to decline. He's already lost over 30-something players to the transfer portal and or NFL, which is, some of that is normal attrition, but I don't think that his run is going to continue the way it's been. I always felt that, when a team gets going pretty good, something happens to him that's going to knock him down a peg or two. That's kind of happening there. Plus, his schedule is going to be a lot tougher, and he's not going to have the same talent level he's had over the last 4 or 5 years. So Georgia is going to have a decline. This is the perfect time to exit because Alabama is in the point where they're right there. They're still better than Georgia, and they can go up. So why not take a leap if you're Kirby Smart? But Harbaugh, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it's kind of sad to see Saban go. He makes it fun to watch college football, just to see if he can knock somebody off like a Georgia, who everybody thinks is just going to whip the rest of the country, and then a guy like Saban comes along and just like to fly in the ointment. So the question is, again, who's going to replace him? And I think the obvious question to me is Kirby Smart. He's not the only person, Saban, that stepped aside or is no longer in his position. Pete Carroll at the NFL. He's now out after 14 seasons. Carroll, as you know, came from USC. After being dominant in that program for several years, he decided to take the leap to the NFL because that's where his heart was. Well, it worked out for him. In those 14 years, he had a couple of Super Bowl appearances. He won one, and he lost that memorable game to New England. I know he's probably having dreams about that one play call. Instead of trying to throw the football, they should have gave it to Marshawn Lynch. The whole world knows that. He knows that. They were just trying to get slick, and it backfired on them. It just so happened New England had been practicing that play in their practice program, and when they saw it, the guy jumped the play. Great play by the defense. But if he had to do it all over again, I'm sure Carroll will hand that ball off to Lynch, and we'll be talking about Pete Carroll as a 2-time Super Bowl champion and 2-time NCAA champion. So Pete Carroll, he's a Hall of Fame coach, going to miss him, but let's see who's going to replace him. Now, speaking of the NFL, right here in Jacksonville, the hometown team are making some strange decisions. They're doing a whole lot of house cleaning down there, but they're doing it on defense. The defense is what kept this team in a lot of games this year, and they are using the defense as a scapegoat. So the defensive coordinator, I think his name Malcolm Caldwell, he's been dismissed, and several of his assistants going with him. But he didn't go quietly. He came out and said the problem's on the other side of the building, and I agree. The offense is terrible. They got Trevor Lawrence. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. When he get hurt, they stick him out there and make him play. Instead of sitting him, you don't have a suitable backup. The offense is what's holding that team back. And I agree with what Caldwell was saying. But they decide to get rid of the defensive side of the ball. Now, here's the thing. The offensive coordinator, Peterson, that's his friend. You don't want to get rid of him. He's going to ride with his friend no matter what. But sometimes you got to make a tough decision and get rid of your friends. First of all, you shouldn't be hiring your friends anyway. Now, if you got somebody that's a good working relationship with you, fine. But to hire your buddies, no, that doesn't work out because you're in a situation like Peterson. He's clearly not doing a good enough job to keep it, but yet you're going to keep him and make the defensive coach the scapegoat. That could backfire on Peterson if they come back next year and don't have any success. So keep your eye out on Jacksonville and what's going to take place concerning this coaching staff. They're not a bad football team. They're only a couple pieces away from really being competitive consistently. And now is the time to make the right moves to keep that team at least to the level where they are now and continue to rise. But Caldwell, I don't think that was a good choice. Maybe if you're going to change the defense coordinator, fine. But if you're going to do that, make sure you change the offense too. And he's not going to do that. Finally, my alma mater, Florida A&M. The head coach, Willie Simmons, resigned to take an assistant job at Duke. He's going to be the new running backs coach. Now, you would say, why would a guy that's a head coach resign to go be an assistant coach somewhere else? Well, of course, it's an obvious jump to the Power 5 or the next level. Generally, the coaches in the HBCUs, they don't have the same opportunities to make a lateral move from one head coach job up to a Power 5 head job. People are going to say, well, the competition you played is not good enough, so we don't think you're worthy. It's another roadblock to keep certain people out of certain positions. He understands that, so to dispute all of that, he just takes another position, a lower level, on a higher level, and work his way up from there. His move is no different than what current Washington coach, I think his name Bolin, he did the same thing. He won a championship on a lower level. He took a job as an assistant, worked his way back up, became a head coach, got some success, then he springboarded that into his current position with Washington. So it can be done. And I think Simmons will do well at what he's done, what he's chosen to do. But the problem is what he's left behind. People at Florida A&M have these high standards about who they want their coach to be. Of course, they're not always right. And even when they pick the right guy, they're trying to find a way to get rid of him. But the athletic director, Don Sykes, she is wanting to bring in this guy from Fort Valley State named Sean Gibbs. But the team doesn't want it. The administrators don't want it. They're saying this is the wrong hire because not only have you rushed to pick this person, but you haven't looked out there to see if there are any other qualified candidates. And because of that, people are not happy. They're not happy with her. They're saying they have no confidence in her ability to do the job. And if she chooses the wrong football coach and that guy comes out and loses the first couple of games, him and her might be out the door. So I don't know how they're going to resolve this. But another thing about that is, and I've seen some reports about misogyny and FAMU athletics. I'm not getting into that, but I will say this. If you're going to hire somebody to do the job, give them the opportunity to do the job. You cannot publicly scrutinize every decision that person makes. If you aren't the person that's over her, even if you are the person that's over her, this is behind closed door actions. You can't just be publicly displaying your disagreements with this person to the public. That doesn't make anybody look good in this situation. And regardless if this person is a good hire or not, if this continues, I expect Sykes to just resign and go find another job somewhere else and let somebody else deal with it. But, FAMU struggled for a while. They're back on the top levels now. And if you thought they were arrogant up there when they were losing, now you're seeing it when they're winning, and they feel like everybody should have a say into what happens next. And that is not the case. The athletic director is hired to make those decisions. And if you entrusted Sykes to be the athletic director, then step back and let her do a job. And stop publicly criticizing everything she does. Because who knows? This guy Gibbs could be a good coach for the program. Remember, Billy Joe, he tried to get the job in the 70s. He got rejected. Jake didn't want him. But what did Billy Joe do when he came to FAM in the 90s? The man won, and he won big. So you never know what a guy's going to do until he gets into that position. But this is my take on the current coaching changes that I've seen so far. The big thing, Nick Saban, it's going to be hard to fill those shoes, but I think the answer to that question is right over into the next state. Either going over there and get Kirby Smart and bring it back in and be the Tide's next coach. NFL coaches, it's just a big carousel. And Carroll did a great job. But like I say, that New England game in the Super Bowl, he should have won that one too. And Willie Simmons, we wish him the best luck, but FAMU alumni and fans need to sit down somewhere and let the woman do her job. And we keep you posted on what's going on down here in Jacksonville with the coaching carousel. This has been Sports for Real.